Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of The Fishing Teacher. And man, I really appreciate you guys coming by to watch the video and spend a little time with me today. I always really appreciate that. And guys, today we're going to be talking about catching bass when the water and air temperatures are at their max. When the air temperature is like over 90 degrees and the water temperatures in the 80s. Super hot out here in the tackle room right now. I'm sweating. It's probably 95 degrees here. And there's some things that you can do to really help increase your success, specifically in the month of July and August. So that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Also, guys, just a couple quick reminders here. Just want to invite everybody, if you haven't had a chance, to please consider hitting that subscribe button to The Fishing Teacher. Much appreciated with that. And also, please check out our Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns that I have in the link and our tackle warehouse link. If you guys want to use and bookmark that link for your fishing tackle, get you a Fish the Moment lake map breakdown. It's a really good way to support the channel if you're inclined to do so. A big thank you for me and my family, for everybody that's doing that. Okay, guys. I think there's a lot of myths and misconceptions around summertime fishing. A lot of it has to do with depending upon where you're at as far as the geographical location of the summer. If you guys are up north, you're not going to have that big of an impact. Fish bite all year long, really good up north. But if you're in the mid part of the country or the southern part of the country or the western part of the country where most people live, it can be super challenging with that. And what I wanted to do today, guys, is I want to give you guys some tips and advice on how to catch bass shallow when those air and water temperatures are super hot. You know that we don't talk about forward-facing sonar techniques on the channel here, but we do talk about traditional bass fishing. So I've got some things that'll really help you out with this. Now, I think one of the biggest myths when you're talking about summertime fishing is a lot of people think, well, I got to get out there early. It's going to get hot. You know, I got to get out there where the there's some shade on the water, and those fish are just going to bite better early and late in the day. That's a big myth. And now there's some techniques that you can take advantage of that during short windows. Like, yeah, you might be able to catch a fish or two on a topwater bait, right off the bat, just right after daylight. But for the most part, if you're going to fish all day long, you got to learn how to catch fish in that super hot sun when that sun's beating down and glaring. So that's what we're going to get into today's video. We've talked a lot about on the channel and on my intuitive angling channel about in the summertime of the year, one of the big challenges is catching fish because the fish are all over the place. You got fish that are shallow, deep, suspended, in between. They're roaming everywhere. There's a lot of shad out in open water they're chasing. A lot of perch up shallow that they're chasing. There's just a lot going on. But to simplify it, what I want to do is when you get out there in July and August and it's super, super hot on the lake you're fishing, here is a simple approach that will help you guys catch more fish. First thing is identify the part of the lake that has the dirtiest water in it. That's the number one thing you have to do. And if you're not really sure about that, an easy way to do this is just to get on Google Earth and look at your lake that you're fishing on Google Earth, and it will show you where the dirtiest water is. You can see it very clearly from those satellite images. That's where you want to be. You want to be in the dirtiest water that you can find. I don't care if the water visibility is 3 inches or 2 foot. You need to be in that off-colored water, because if you're in that off-colored water, it's going to put those fish shallower on whatever cover's available. Makes them a lot easier to catch. And also, those bass that are in shallow water, even if it's really hot, tend to be a little bit more active than a lot of those fish that suspend. So here's what I do. Number one, I try, just like what you guys, like I just said, I try to identify the dirtiest water in the lake, and then I go up into those particular areas, and I've only got a handful of techniques that I really like to use. My number one technique is speed cranking some type of a small, shallower type running crankbait. My two favorite crankbaits for the hottest part of the summer is that Megabass S-Crank 1.2 and the Megabass Super Z2. I'll link them both in the description of the video. By far, guys, I've caught more bass in July and August on those two lures than any other bait that I can remember the last 10 years, really. So just fish them around whatever cover you have. If it's a rocky bank, just crank the rocky banks with them. If you got some laydowns or some wood, crank it around that wood, shallow grass, whatever. Just fish it shallow, fish it fast with a stop and go retreat. That's going to be your number one technique for catching them when it's super hot. And you can catch them, I don't care if it can be 105 degrees and bright sun. If you got water visibility that's stained and you got some shallow cover, you're going to catch some bass on one of those two crankbaits. The other technique that I use is pitching and flipping a creature bait or plastic worm on a heavier slip sinker. So most of the time I like something like that Zoom Z Hog or Beaver, or some type of a larger curl tail plastic worm like the Zoom Old Monster or the Zoom Ultra Vibe Speed Worm, something that's got a little bit of curl action to the tail. And I usually put it on a fairly heavy sinker, at least a 5/16. Probably my favorite is anywhere between a 3/8 and a ½ ounce, because when you're fishing that shallow cover, most of the time I'm talking about fishing less than 3 foot of water, that heavy sinker will drop real quick next to that cover, and again, it creates that reaction strike that is so necessary in hot weather. But those are the two techniques, guys. I can promise you, if you try this, just try it next time you go out on those hot days. Get in the dirty water, get you those 2 crankbaits I'm talking about, and a creature bait and a worm with a heavy sinker, and just fish shallow around whatever cover you got. And if there's some fish in those areas that you're in, you're going to catch them doing that. It's a really good way to catch them, all the way July, August, and early September. So anyway, I hope it helps out, guys, and we'll talk later.